It's another Sunday night, and we've come with a package that will get you informed, enlightened, and of course, entertained. It's Sunday News Special. Good evening. Welcome on board. My name is Mercy Akere.
And you are also welcome. My name is Ufot Udakan.
And together we'll be unfolding our package for you tonight. Quickly, we'll reel out the headlines. Governor Umoino fires warning shots at vandals, sues support to protect government's infrastructure.
Akwa Ibom governor's wife makes case for breastfeeding centers at workplaces as glowing communities observe 2023 breastfeeding week.
The story of a northern Nigerian tribe where killing of twins is still enforced.
And resident doctors to commence picketing of federal establishments August 9.
These and other reports in our package tonight. Do stay. Alright, we'll begin tonight by telling you that villages in the state are to protect government assets and infrastructure sited in their communities. This is according to Governor Moino and is to ensure effective use of such infrastructure as well as encourage government to do more. The governor who handed down the warning said community leaders will henceforth be held responsible for theft and vandalism of government assets in their communities. Governor Moino was speaking in Eket during the funeral of the special representative in Lagos to the immediate past governor, Mr. Udom Emmanuel. Our Government House reporter, Patience John, tells us more.
Decrying the rate of vandalism and government property, Governor Moino, while addressing sympathizers at the funeral service of Elder Emmanuel Bassi, who served as the special representative to former Governor Udom Emmanuel, called on leaders in various communities to ensure that government property provided within their domains are safe. Governor Moino also spoke of his administration readiness to give schools a first lift by erecting fences, providing electricity and security houses, while benefiting communities are to provide security.
I have requested the Commissioner for Education to work with the village leadership to really know what the situation is so that we can get our children to benefit from that computer. I think we need to do that fencing. We started in Uyo with the last administration and will continue steadily to fence our schools. The schools that were repaired under the last administration, some villages, they are almost removing the roofs. They have removed all the doors. So not only do we want to fence the school, there will be a security house, and then we will employ the Honorable Commissioner for Internal Security will work with the village to employ 2 security men that will be security in the school. And with the youth president of the village and the village head, all of them will be responsible for the security of the assets in the school.
He regretted the death of Elder Bassi and conveyed the state government's condolences to the deceased family.
On behalf of the government and the people of Akwa Ibom State, I stand here to express our deepest condolences on this sad and unfortunate incident to the family and indeed the people of Afaratai. Your late husband, Madam, was a man of deep faith, of character, abiding love for this state, and his capacity to be all what God had destined him to be. As the representative of the immediate past governor, His Excellency, Ikinudom Gabriel Emmanuel, in Nigeria's Economic and Financial Nerve Center, Lagos, he parlayed his experience and professional touch as a financial services expert to market our state.
Also commiserating with the deceased family, the immediate past governor, Mr. Udom Emmanuel, accompanied by his wife, Martha, described Elder Emmanuel Bassi as a dependable friend and brother who has departed the earth when they least expected, and prayed God to rest his soul.
Whether you met him briefly or you have known him for years, I am certain that we all will agree that Ba was a good man, a humble man, a gentleman, and we are all united in this deep sense of grief. Today, we have come here to say goodbye to a man who was full of life and active, and whose sudden death took everyone by surprise. This is not the end. It simply means that we will miss you, Ba, until we meet again. Today, Ba, I'm here looking at your casket. I'm saying, Ba, adieu, goodbye.
Held at Government Primary School grounds, Afaratai in Eket Local Government Area, where the chairman of Conference United Evangelical Church, the Reverend Samuel Ebuibai, preached. Patience John, AKBC News.
May the soul of the departed Mr. Bassi continue to rest in peace. There and then, the governor has handed down some warnings, and this time around it's for people who vandalize government, who vandalize infrastructure put up by government. Now it behooves on communities, leaders, everybody has a role to play in ensuring that facilities provided by government is protected.
Okay, come to think of it, most of those facilities are like borehole waters, electricity. If you get to some schools, you discover that those facilities provided there have been vandalized. Some the water tank are cutted away, and though it's behold on them for the community to take hold of those equipment and infrastructure and protect them from vandals. Okay, taking the next story here. The wife of Akwa Ibom State Governor, Pastor Patience Sumoyana, has made a case for the setting up of breastfeeding center at workplaces to encourage caring nursing mothers engaged in 6-month exclusive breastfeeding as recommended by the World Health Organization, WHO. The governor's wife made this known Friday during the flag-off of the 2023 World Breastfeeding Week tagged Enabling Breastfeeding, making a difference for working parents at Government House Banquet Hall. Margaret Bassi reports.
Emphasizing that proper breastfeeding breeds a healthy population, the First Lady, who was represented by the Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Welfare, Dr. Uni Adiakban, urged breastfeeding mothers to wear comfortable clothes that allowed them breastfeed their infants at any time. She encouraged them to practice healthy hygiene, balanced diet, and proper rest, as this also reflects on the health status of their babies. The governor's wife further solicited the collaborative support of wives of local government chairmen in spreading the message at the grassroots for effective sensitization.
This feeding, initial feeding, is very important for the child. If we need to have intelligent children, intelligent populace in future, then we must give it attention and time. It therefore behoves all of us sitting that wherever we are, we should create points, beautiful points, decorated points in our offices for breastfeeding mothers to encourage them to feed.
Resource persons, Professor Uwemedimbok Ekanem and Dr. Idomeselumo, in their presentations, highlighted benefits of exclusive breastfeeding to babies, saying it makes them healthy and immune to sickness. They also mention numerous benefits of exclusive breastfeeding for both the baby and the mother, to include postpartum weight loss, lower risks of allergies, asthma, obesity, and chronic diseases for babies that may want to occur lately in life.
Most of the times, either or take at least 30 minutes.
The woman is supposed to give her child only breast milk for the first 6 months of life and continue breastfeeding for up to 2 years. I don't take my breast to my baby. I take baby to the child should empty the first breast before you go to the next breast.
In their separate goodwill messages, the Commissioner for Health, Professor Augustine Omo, the chairperson of the Medical Women's Association of Nigeria, Dr. Ekaete Mbat, and the World Health Organization representative, Dr. Clement Nwaeke, encouraged women to breastfeed their babies as ordained by God for their sustenance and enhanced immunity. Applauding Pastor Patience Umoino for hosting such a wonderful event in line with the World Breastfeeding Week, they urge all the women to adhere to the teachings received.
Begin to give our babies what nature had already provided for its sustenance. And to be able to do that, we must also make it possible for the mothers to be able to feed even in their workplaces in line with this year's theme.
I sincerely want to thank her because she's created this opportunity for us to be able to know the importance of breastfeeding.
The wives of the chairman here to go home and replicate this thing. The people who need this message, they are here.
High points of the event was practical breastfeeding of babies by the nursing mothers and presentation of gift packs to nursing and expectant mothers. 2 nursing mothers with very healthy babies were celebrated at the ceremony and presented with gifts. Margaret Bassi, AKBC News.
Okay, the importance of breastfeeding, given that the breastfeeding week has kicked off for the year 2023. Just like the experts said, there are so many benefits of breastfeeding for both the baby and the mother. For instance, for the baby, it provides them with ideal nutrition. Breast milk contains important antibodies and may reduce disease risk. So it's important for all relevant stakeholders to ensure that breastfeeding works at workplaces, just like the theme implies.
Well, the other encouragement there is for mothers to wear a cloth that will be easy for them to be able to, unzip and breastfeed their baby.
Yeah, that's why they ought to be provided the space where they can do their natural responsibilities.
Yes.
Okay, we move to the next story tonight. Democracy as government of the people has since May 29, 2023, at Governor Moino's assumption of office, found elevated expressions with regular, unannounced, and uncensored interactions with citizens. These engagements, ranging from formal to informal, have allowed the governor a platform of experiencing firsthand the plight of the people and knowing what should be done. The surprise and unpreparedness often expressed at such visits led Samuel Irine to finding out what the people think about these public interfaces and what they would tell the governor if an opportunity knocked.
With the advent of the Umoino administration, there has been a new order of engagement and interaction with citizens. This has come in forms of stopovers at where businesses are done, especially informal businesses. How much the people think of this style of governance and how prepared they are in event the governor stops over at their business places and communities. Patronage for small holding businesses by a governor or highly placed politically exposed persons do not happen every day. The recurrence of such encounters since Governor Umoina got in the saddle have in several ways bequeathed small-scale entrepreneurs a pivotal role on the administration's Arise agenda. What people who have earned the fortune of interacting with the governor in their business places discuss may be unknown, but some respondents already know what they would given such opportunities.
So I will tell the government to spend more time on training and retraining and general training, both the people that do the business and then in our tertiary institutions.
You should work on taxation. I can see keke and minibus, the taxation is too much on them.
Because capital, like by work shop, so without the capital, that's when you find them.
do nko yang aba kana wan kere ba ke efara do ini wam no kiriki ni yana mo ma pa so yang aba ntruma do ke foro do ama wuro so mpa yem no ko number no dey son wam anoye.
What is going on in Nigeria today? What do you think you will do for us where the governors who are not working in government places? What do you do for us so that things will be okay for us, because the thing they buy to pass in your life. Like me, where they sell oil here. Before we need to buy them cheap. The now the thing don't go up. So that is what I will ask you.
I think there are certain areas in the city, infrastructure. Many places require good roads. You know, it will help to expand the city. I go first even tell them, say, welcome, thank you for coming to my place. And what I will tell him is to empower the youth. The ages of roofing, building the youth has been over. They should roof the youth, because the house that is roofed, there will be accommodation. The house that is roofed, there will be security.
These interactions with respondents did not go without probing their perception about the governor's frequent unannounced visits to businesses.
It is very laudable for him to stop over and see how the poor of the poorest, those are the roadside traders, are faring. I think it is the best he can do. So I applaud him for that. And I believe if he can still go down to see what the local people are facing, the sky will be the limit.
Very, very good idea, because he is bringing government closer to the people. So I think it's very applaudable.
I love the idea. At least you have a first-hand information from the people. But I'm also scared that the governor, by so doing, might be promoting street trading. You agree with me that it appears not just in Akwa Ibom, it appears in Nigeria that government in several places are actually losing the war against street trading. Because when you encourage somebody on the roadside, you're indirectly telling others, come on, I can stop by your junction at any point in time.
It would be recalled that Governor Umoina, through spontaneous stops and unscheduled facility tours, has invented a new vista of citizens' engagement and bridged the gap between the people and their leaders. As he sustains these visits, what would you tell the governor if he suddenly appeared in your space? Samuel Ayara, AKBC News.
How prepared are you for when next the governor will be making an unannounced, probably unscheduled visit to your domain? What would you be found doing? What do you do at the moment? I remember when His Excellency came on board, he said people that will be most favored in his administration are those who have something doing. So what is it that you do? How prepared are you in case His Excellency passes by your domain? What would you ask for? Lovely reports there, and we look forward to more of such visits. I'm sure even people look forward to more of such visits. I'm sure people are prepared to ask one or two questions, make requests here and there, and all of that.
Well, I would say for a common man, such an interface is a very good opportunity for them to make requests and say out their mind. But I want to tell you, there are situations where seeing the governor for the first time and ask you, what can I do for you? You may be lacking words. I'll give you an example. The previous governor, now the Senate president, asked a retiring driver. He said, what can I do for you? He said, Your Excellency, when you come back, I'll tell you. You know, that was the end of such an opportunity for such an individual. So I commend that public-private interface with the governor. Now, taking the next story here, it's interesting to note that in this age and time where the world is technologically driven with inventions and practices, there are people who are yet to imbibe modern evolutions. Among people who still hold onto ancient practice is the Koma tribe in Adamawa State, northern Nigeria, where the killing of twins still subsists. One significant thing about this tribe is that they also practice the Adam and Eve dress code of leaves adornment. Shocking, right? Egan Paul tells us more about the Koma tribe and its history.
In this beautiful mountain terrain lives a tribe untouched and tarnished by civilization and its hassles. While the world is moving on, fast-paced into the fourth revolution with robots, high-end technology, evolving traditions, cultures, and environmental changes, this group of people remain unbothered by the world revolving around them. The Koma people of Adamawa State in northern Nigeria still live in ancient times. As civilized as the country seems, the Koma people still practice the killing of twin babies. In fact, these babies are buried alongside their mother without a rethink. Primitive it may seem, but the people still believe that twin births are evil and unacceptable. Koma means to go back, making it seem like the name has a stake in their way of life. For reasons too obvious to ignore, some have described the Koma people as ancient and as primitive. Whichever the case, the Koma people have refused to tag along with civilization. Located in the Atlantika Mountains of Adamawa State in northern Nigeria, the Koma people also shares a border with southern Cameroon. The Koma people became recognized as Nigerians in 1961, a year after Nigeria got its independence. Today, Koma is part of the 7 districts of Ghanaian local government in Adamawa State. The Koma Hill was discovered in 1986 by a core member. Uniquely committed to their culture, they still dress like their forefathers. The men wear lion clothes, while the women wear fresh leaves tied around their waist, and they still live in the caves.
Yeah.
Huh? Some of their men adorn contemporary clothes, but the women stick to nudity and live well. They firmly believe that if women wear modern clothes, they will incur the wrath of the gods with a visitation of either death or barrenness. They stick to these rules to the extent that when government authorities made it mandatory in some markets for people to put on clothes, the women would put clothes wrappers over the leaves only in the market and remove them on their way back to the hills. Shocking, isn't it? The Koma people, according to researchers, have respect for the chiefs, elders, and government agents, but would never trade their beliefs, culture, and tradition for anything, not even money. In Koma Hill is in the maternal lineage, including child inheritance. Also worthy of note is that a Koma man, to an extent, yours truly, does not know, shares his wife with friends, especially visitors, because according to them, it is a sign or mark of acceptance and friendship. Most of the occupation is rearing animals, as you could see them coexist with animals, sharing food and drinking water sources. Anthropologists and human rights activists believe that responsible tourism can help preserve the Koma culture, ease their daily lives, and help to eliminate the brutal ones, like the bearing of twins with their mother. What do our people think about this kind of culture?
It's not really fair. A mother will carry a child for 9 months, and not just the child, children for 9 months in her womb. At the end of it, she pushes it out, and someone will come and kill it. How will you feel? If that's how they kill people all over the world, will we, like people like us, exist? No. I condemn it totally. Like, it's not fair.
Since we came and realized that wearing clothes is good for a woman to wear, it's okay. Women should not wear the leaves, they should wear the clothes.
For me, it's bad. It's not good because we were not meant to wear leaves. Normally, we were meant to wear clothes.
I wouldn't say it's out of place because it's more of a cultural thing. Same way, it's very hard for them to adapt to wearing, to be fully clothed. The same way we also, in fact, there will be protests now. Nobody will want to wear leaves.
You don't even know and be exposed. You don't know. And I for sure because of a man I'm through. I am a world war. That's how in the sense that I commit fornication.
Koma Hills have become a center of attraction for soul winners as evangelical churches within and outside Nigeria are engaged in introducing them to serving God. These missionaries are behind the little development in the area. They built faith-based schools, sink boreholes, clothing for the people, and other humanitarian belief. Well, maybe in no time, the Koma people will embrace the global revolution and transformation, but for now, it is worthy of note that the Garden of Eden still exists in Nigeria. The Koma tribe. Eyageno Paul. KBC News.
All right, the Koma people in Adamawa State. My colleague here just said that the economy is not as difficult as it is here in this part of the world. Okay, I don't know if I'm to agree with him or not. However, there's another tribe here in Nigeria that has certain similarities with the Koma people. It is the Jibu tribe. They reside in the Gerinjima Mountains in Taraba State. The Koma Hills, now back to the reports on hand today. The Koma Hills has been a center for lots of tourists. We have so many missionaries trooping in to see how they can talk to the people, make them to desist from their inhumane practices. We do hope that one day civilization will get to such places in Nigeria.
Well, you were talking about economy. I don't feel this biting economy is affecting them in terms of fear in that part of the world. But the most interesting thing is that these are men who are our people who are holding on to, committed on to their culture. So they rarely relinquish, no matter how much you preach to them, they still stick to their own culture there. Okay.
All right, we still have more for you on Sunday News Special tonight. Tributes as Paul Ekpoberry's wife, Vivian.
And tension as ECOWAS ultimatum to Niger military nears deadline.
That's after this time out, Tuesday. All right, good to have you with us on Sunday News Special. With the economic realities in Nigeria comes the tendency to feel depressed and subsequently contemplate suicide. The big questions are, is suicide the solution to problems? Do the challenges end after suicide? Has anyone ever benefited from committing suicide? These questions should make people reconsider committing suicide, no matter the situation they face, according to a psychologist who, in this report by Yaino Paul, hinted on suicide prevention.
What comes to mind at news that a person has taken his or her life? Studies show that about 1.5 of all deaths globally are suicide, either by hanging, pesticide poisoning, firearms, or jumping off the cliff. It is ranked as the 10th leading cause of death. What could make people think of ending their own lives?
Government and I will work with them. I be young and I'm working with them. Young and I'm working with them.
He or she did not prepare himself for a better future. Because we know that a Christian, no matter the difficulties or the challenges facing in life, you cannot go and sacrifice your life, kill yourself because of anything.
Another case could be being deprived of their rights.
Okay, if you do well, may do and I don't know. I mean, I'm going I do all kinds of my can I control. Then I do reality.
Causes of suicide are diagnosed mental problem crisis, intimate partner problem, physical health problem, alcohol, substance abuse, arguments, family problem, unemployment, financial problem, legal issues, and death of loved ones, according to the head of psychology department in the University of Uyo, Dr. Mfoni Neme. Dr. Neme mentioned some risk factors to be hopelessness as a result of depression, ruminating thoughts, suppression, poor coping skills, impulse control, and a perception of being a burden to others.
Suicide majorly is a symptom of depression. That we need to understand that suicide is not a spontaneous thing. There's the 3 stages of suicide. There's what we call suicide ideation, suicide attempt, and then suicide act. After some time, they may attempt it once or twice, then they actually do it. No women attempt suicide, no men commit suicide. The individual that commits suicide, they see it as a permanent escape from problem. The studies have also shown that people who commit suicide are selfish. The person that ends his life does not think of the effects on those he's leaving behind. Life is not like that. There is always a solution to every problem. And then you even have to mention there's somebody that has a bigger problem than yours, and his condition is worse than yours, but he doesn't end his life. So don't think of ending your life.
Research reveals that about 60% of people who contemplate suicide do not talk about it because of wanting to deal with the problem alone. So, the psychologist emphasized that anyone who mentioned ending his or her own life should not be taken for granted. Effort should be made to help the person.
Let members of the public, let Akwa Ibom people, let Nigerians learn to believe in people when they say, I feel like ending my life. Don't think they can't end it. Don't think they're joking. Don't think they're pretending. Don't think they're seeking attention. They may end it. Let's organize the private sector, the NGOs also come together and provide centers. Let governments also look for centers, create centers where people can go and ease it out. With the present economic realities facing Nigeria,
how do respondents perceive suicide?
Where do you open? I would need a foresight. How do you have a dump? If nobody up, say, for more can meet up. I get for.
Suicide is not biblical, it's not a good thing. Because as you're even dying, you're even creating more problems to yourself. You're learning in hellfire, you're dying. That is. I think I tried doing that sometimes when I was much younger than this. Like, I tried doing that because someone wanted to sleep with me, and he was thinking I told the wife that might affect his marriage. And there was a particular night I got a knife under my pillow. I wanted to commit suicide, but something came into me. Was like, and at that point I called my brother, and my brother said I should come back.
I can't do that because I'm a Christian. There is a time for hardship, and there is a time that things will flow.
With more than 700,000 people dying from suicide every year, either from depression, isolation, previous suicide attempts, substance abuse, and mental illness, Dr. Ineme advises on what to do rather than commit suicide.
Suicide is not good and should not be done. When you are in your life, do you mind what will happen to others? If not for your own good, for your own sake, mind other people around you.
Such a crime is unacceptable to the society.
No situation is permanent. Be patient in what situation they may find themselves.
Why killing yourself instead of tackling the problem to a standstill? Why not talk to somebody about it? Believe my respondents when they say suicide is never an option or a solution. Stay alive, because when there is life, there is hope. Remember that the Holy Book views suicide as equal to murder. Remember your family and loved ones when contemplating ending your own life. Don't forget the 6th commandment in Exodus chapter 20, which says, "You shall not commit murder." Suicide is murdering yourself. Eyagenopo, Kebesenes.
Right, it's very important to talk about such a thing as suicide in times like this. Now, whatever the case may be, if you begin to have suicidal thoughts, it's important to talk to relevant people. Just find a way to think who could be relevant in your situation, not just talking to maybe people who make the situation worse. Probably they don't get to help you and all of that. Look for relevant people, talk to them. Also, it's important for each and every one of us to be brother's keeper. Look out for people, observe people. When you think someone is in distress, see how you can help, because the times are really tough.
Well, I want to go with you. Be your brother's keeper, especially in the circumstances where we find ourselves now. You can never tell what your neighbor, your friend, or your colleague is passing through, so always give a helping hand. And to you out there, relate well, ask questions when you see some other person in difficulty, and then if you have the ability, please do give a helping hand. You can't imagine the life you would have saved at that particular time.
Or if you could also recommend help. If you're not in position to help, you can recommend help. Also remember, suicide is not the solution, has never been the solution.
Also remember, the Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill." Now, taking the next story here. Preference for impactful living over longevity at the weekend dominated sentiments expressed as wife of the National Assembly member for Etina Federal Constituency, Mrs. Vivian Polepo, was laid to rest. In their funeral oration, people from all walks of life, including Governor Omoyeno, past governors and National Assembly members, in their reflections of Vivian's life and times, recall her contributions to the growth of humanity.
For Vivian Polepo, who lived for 55 years, her earthly journey may have ended, but her impact will endure further, according to testimonies from those who knew her.
On behalf of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and my family, I write to convey our sincere and heartfelt condolences to you, the Ekpo and the Ekenge families.
She was the one that was like the glue who was binding us together. Even when there was a disagreement or little squabbles in the family, Vivian always stood out as that person that will hold the family together.
She was indeed a virtuous woman, a praying warrior, my gist partner, a helper indeed.
She was a beacon of light, an embodiment of love, kindness, and grace.
She conceived and nurtured a lifelong dream of imparting excellence and best values into every child around her.
Auntie, good night. Rest in the bosom of God till we meet to depart no more.
For Governor Umoino, the deceased was a blessing to those who associated with her, as he recounted his experience with Vivian while praying her soul eternal repose.
On behalf of the government and people of Akwa Ibom State, I join your family, friends, associates to console and condole you on the painful and sad passing of your beloved wife. The passing of a spouse is an emotionally wrenching experience, especially at such a relatively young age, and we share your pain deeply and profoundly. As painful and sad as this moment of bereavement may be to you and your family, I urge you to be consoled by the ennobling ideals her short but impactful life had represented.
A biography read by her daughter, Ekemini, described the deceased as a woman of many parts, who both in public service and private life exemplified virtue.
She attained this great height because she made her life a huge investment in people and her existence a big contribution to humanity. The sterling qualities of humility, kindness, and hospitality made it possible for her to relate and connect seamlessly with the both high and the low in the society.
Notwithstanding the grief in her departure, her husband, Obong Polekpo, said Vivian remains his life's greatest blessing as he recounted their 23 years marital journey.
It is the will of God that Vivian should go to rest. But we men feel so stressed to see how such a wonderful woman will not be by my side. And so it's always difficult for me to say good night. But the obvious is that I must say good night. Because after today, I will never see her again. We will only live with good legacies, the good memories, the testimonies that men and women bequeath by the virtue of the relationship they have had with her while she was alive.
The funeral, which featured prayers for the bereaved family, was conducted by Winners Chapel, whose state pastor, John Adelekon, charged the people on impactful living. Samuel Ayara, AKBC News.
May the soul of the late Mrs. Vivian Polekpo continue to rest in peace. We move on now to the next report tonight. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has threatened to embark on a daily peaceful protest and picketing of the Federal Ministry of Health Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, as well as the federal and state tertiary health institutions nationwide from Wednesday, August 9, 2023. In a letter titled Notice of Nationwide Mass Protests and Picketing by NARD, addressed to the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Health, and copied to the President of the Senate, Speaker, House of Representatives, Secretary to the Federation, and others, the resident doctors noted that the protest has become necessary to press home their demands, which have been largely neglected by the federal government. They stated that they were pained that rather than make genuine and concerted efforts to resolve the challenges that led to the industrial action, despite repeated ultimatums, the federal government has chosen to demonize Nigerian resident doctors in a bid to arm twist them.
And there has been pressure on Niger Republic coup leaders as the West African bloc's deadline for the military to relinquish control or face possible armed intervention approaches. The ECOWAS bloc, chaired by regional military powerhouse Nigeria, had given the troops that toppled President Mohamed Bazoum on July 25 a week to return to power. ECOWAS military chiefs of staff have agreed on a plan for a possible intervention to respond to the crisis, the latest of several coups to hit Africa's Sahel region since 2020.
And on that note, we wrap up tonight's edition of Sunday News Special. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you tonight. We look forward to you joining us next week Sunday for another beautifully packaged edition of the program. My name is Mercy Ekere.
And I am Ufot Budaka. Thanks for being with us.
Good night.